Greetings! In this video I'll be painting an Elysian Drop Trooper. This model has been sitting on my desk for a few months, so I figured I'd finally paint it on camera for you guys. If you saw my Deathcore of Krieg video, you might remember I received 3 Militara models as a bonus in an Etsy order I made last year. I built up a base for it with cork and tiny rocks, and a skull for good measure, and then I did my usual black primer over the entire thing. The first thing I did was paint the base with a coat of Rhinox hide, as well as hitting the boots. This paint job is highly experimental. I had no idea what I was doing going in. My other videos are the same, but I'm not too comfortable painting guardsmen. After that base coat, I switched to XV88 and did an overbrush over the terrain, and then onto the uniform. I switched to a small brush here to apply a full base coat over the entire uniform, making sure to get complete coverage. To highlight I used Balor brown, going over the bits that stick out to add some depth. Next I switched to Baneblade brown and did a light brush over the base. I also decided to go over the boots at the same time, which I think worked out really well. Now for the armour. I used Death Guard green as the base coat, as I felt it was most like the reference, while also hopefully supporting the idea of using Elysian green as a highlight. This needed a few coats, as despite it being listed as a base paint, it's quite thin out of the pot. I painted the gun casings with this colour too. Elysian green is next, highlighting the various panels. I tried to stick to upwards facing surfaces, adding edge highlights and also layering like you see in the footage, with an attempt at transitions on some bits. Now for some metal details. I wanted the metal to be shiny but not stand out too much, so I used Iron Warriors. Weapon details like the muzzle, handle and magazine were painted, as well as details on the drop chute and the visor on the helmet. Next I painted the skull on his torso with Retributor armour. For the plasma effect, I started by using Ulthuan grey, blocking in the coils completely. I also painted in a white stripe on the back of the helmet, which marks this guy as a sergeant. I decided to switch back to the base here and highlight the skull with some Ushabti bone, doing lines as you see here. As the paint dried, I did a light dry brush over the rest of the rocks, just to elevate the colour a bit more. Back to the plasma, I used Baharroth blue and painted in 2/3 of the coil sides, as well as those little vents on the muzzle. I used Temple Guard blue for the last third of the coil, as well as the middle bit like before. This hopefully shows the middle as cooler, as it's the furthest from the heat source. I checked my transfer stash and found some that would work for this guy. I cut out a winged skull and a number 2 from the new infantry transfer sheet, and applied them to the pauldrons. Like the markings on the helmet, the markings I chose here are also for sergeants. This guy will be from the 2nd Company in the whatever regiment. After I applied those decals with Microset and Microsol, and gave them some time to cure, I brought out the enamel and applied a thin coat. This is meant to be purely to add some additional depth. I don't want to stain the model, just add contact shadows and emphasise the recesses. I used the leftover enamel on the base to help transition the colours there. Moving back to acrylics, I used Abaddon black to paint the belt. I should have done this earlier, but no harm done. It looks fine like this anyway. For the visor I used Runefang steel, going from the bottom upwards, trying to add some more shine. Wanting even more shine, I switched to Stormhost silver and applied it in a smaller area, as well as trying to do an edge highlight. After I was happy with that, I went back to Elysian green to fix up some mistakes on the helmet. Then I went back to black to paint the edge of the base. And after a matte varnish, it was done. And here we have it, a sergeant of the Elysian Drop Troopers. Considering how small this guy is, and how I just kind of threw this scheme together with little planning, I think it's pretty good. The edges are pretty hard to get to, and as a result some of the surfaces look a bit samey. If I were a bit better with edge highlighting, it probably would look better. But that being said, I am still pleased with the result. The Elysians are definitely due for some plastic models. They have a cool aesthetic, and could reintroduce drop sentinels, and they could also operate Taurus Venators. We have Krieg now, and even an Attilan kit. Come on GW. As I mentioned earlier, this model was a bonus from an Etsy order. I didn't print this myself. I did do considerable cleanup around the model, but there are some print lines that were fairly deep, and I was risking losing pieces or detail if I kept at it. So forgive those obvious lines, particularly on the drop shoot. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one, and stick around for the next one.